Hello, and welcome to season 2 of Sunday Sweet Chats. My name is Charles K. Carter, and I'm a queer poet who currently lives in Oregon. I'm the author of Read My Lips from David Robert Books, as well as several chat books, including Artificial Sweetness from Finishing Line Press. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about our sweet guest today and discuss some sweet, sweet poetry. Hello, Juniper. I'm so excited to have you. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Juniper Moon, and I am an artist, letterpress printer, and writer. I just recently moved back to the Willamette Valley, and I am creating. I've been creating a lot, and so I'm very excited about that. I founded Dwell Press. It's with a big letterpress and a little letterpress, but Dwell Press in 2010. And it was a gift from what I say the universe and Sam Hamill. He gave me the original Copper Canyon press. This was after he had left the press, Copper Canyon, and it completely changed my life. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a little while. But I try to pay that forward.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's so cool. Can't wait to talk more about that. Before we get too much into the literature and the poetry and that sweet stuff, since it's Sunday Sweet Chats, what is your favorite sweet?
Well,
Or
since
a
I
favorite sweet?
love, yeah, since I love sweets, it's kind of hard to narrow it down, but I did for today. It could change tomorrow, but right now it's creme brulee with a nice crack to it,
Mm.
and the Choco Love chocolate bars, the dark chocolate sea salt that has the poem in the wrapper. If you haven't had one, I'll have to get you one. Those are my two favorite right now.
Sounds delicious. I just had we're local to each other. Have you had any of Chomp Chocolate?
Not yet,
No.
not yet, but I will.
They're great. And you can do like a factory tour. They do them on Saturdays and stuff and sample a bunch, but they're
That sounds
vegan, they're like
wonderful.
ethically sourced, they're delicious.
Mhm.
I had some of that earlier.
I had some of my chocolate bar just a little bit ago, so
We
we're
need
right
this.
there.
We need the sweet things.
Yes.
All right, enough about sweet food. Let's talk about sweet, sweet poetry. You have a poem to read for us. Go for it.
Yes, I do. This one kind of came about, was a sassy response. Somebody asked me by instant message what I was writing on the new vintage love seat that I'd moved into my bedroom. It's just over there. And I unmuzzled my snark that's usually on my shoulder. And this is the poem. It's titled Today's Answer. I write with cloven hooves, tapping out a Morse code only those with the most heinous thoughts can decipher. I bray like an ass, snort like a sow, caterwaul like mating bobcats, and screech like an owl until I can whir like a hummingbird across the page. I write about time all of the time with too little time in the making do. A 10-pound watch on my wrist anchors me, reminds me of what I've wasted, how much might be left. I write to obscure, how freeing to become unknown to yourself. I imagine a nameless bioluminescent sea creature deep off the Pacific shelf, the original black, yet it is as evidenced by the glowing smear of its existence. So far from mine, yet the same in this moment. I am the indigo synesthetic smear across the page, delineated by white space. I write for the startled coyote's vows, the chicken clucks of tut-tuts, and the crow's cacophony of monosyllabic verbosity. I write to orient this body to the topographical map of another's body. I write because I am alive. I swing from topic to topic like the squirrel high wire act, sustenance through hilarity. I write like the black bear on the ridge trundles along and pauses to sniff, like the great blue heron meditates moments before tasting the fish. I write like a bat caught in a room, flapping erratically around and around until the window of my mind is flung open to the night sky. I write because my dog will die. I write because I cannot fly.
Ooh, those last two lines really hit me. Beautiful. Such great sound, like right from the beginning, like the tapping, and that just carries out not just like the language, but the imagery of sound and so many other senses called upon too, but the sound especially there. Those last two times really got me as a dog owner.
Thank you very
Because I
much.
these are my first two dogs that I have, and I'm afraid what that's going to be like when that time comes. It's not
Yeah.
fair that their lives are so much shorter.
Yes, I think they work harder. They're so much kinder than humans. I think that's part of it. And my dog used to be Sam's dog. And so she helped two humans die, and now it's my turn to help her die. And she has the best life possible, not to make you sad, but she has the best life possible here. So
Thank you for sharing such a great piece. So tell us more about what's going on in your literary world.
So currently, I'm very excited. I had waited, I think, about 8 years to start a poetry reading series, and it's called Dwell Press Reading Series. It happens once a month in person and in Zoom. It alternates. I'll take some months off here and there for summer or solstice kind of breaks, but I invite 2 readers every time. They are not just from poetry. And I do these great, if I can show you some of them, these great broadsides. And right now, my letterpress shop is almost ready. It can almost be bug-free. There were 50 stink bugs in the window a week or 2 ago as we're working on the construction. But in the meantime, let's see if we can show you. This is one of
I think we froze.
right now. So there are many different flavors. William O'Daly, Derek Sheffield. But I will eventually get back. I'll hold up one more. This one's a Derek Sheffield one, older one. This one's printed on the letterpress and has wood block carving. So I'll eventually get back to these on the big press. But right now, I didn't want to wait anymore. I wanted to do my act of love and advocacy for writers. And I barely make any money off of it. It's an effort of kindness and love. And that energy to do that comes from the gift of the letterpress from Sam. It's part of the sweetness of what's happening. And he gave me the gift when he didn't know me. He gave me a complete print shop, everything I needed when he didn't even know I can print. And it totally changed my life.
So beautiful and so poignant with the concept of the series with sweetness and how what we give and how our art can be an act of love.
Yes. And writers invest so much time in solitude, writing away. And I haven't focused on getting published. I'm moving more towards that now for myself. But I have, I don't know, maybe 50 broadsides for people that I've created now digitally and with letterpress. And I've spent hours and hours with somebody's poems, and I've set it upside down and backwards in a type stick, and then printed it, and then it's gone through the press 6 or 7 times on the big press. So it's like this intimate relationship with the poem. And it's not to lessen other acts of kindness or love, but not many people do that for free. I still a few broadsides along the way, and that's the goal. But it's more an act of generating this energy to somebody, hopefully you'll come read from my series sometime, and generating this energy around a writer who could likely use some of that good love and energy that's been passed on from Sam to me and will continue to go on.
So beautiful. I love that. And I love that you're here being part of that, spreading that love and joy in community. And I think a lot of us as poets and writers struggle with that at times, because it's that creation aspect oftentimes is so isolated. So
Yes,
it's kind of hard sometimes to get out of our shells and go to open mics or workshop with people or reach out and develop that, because it takes a little work. It doesn't come naturally, with that creative process. Like, it's kind of a other thing, but
yes.
it can be so, I can't think of the right word. It can be so inspiring, not the best
I
word,
like the word a panacea, because it's like healing at the same time. But I've been I've only had one in person so far, and I came down with the vicious crud that's been going around the last 3 years, so I had to delay one of them. But they're a party. We have some food. There are broadsides. There are surprises. There are like free raffles. So it's not quite like a 3-ring circus, but it's not your typical poetry reading. It's to really have a different, and there'll be some cameos too. Whoever will be reading in the future will appear at some readings in a cameo for 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm actually going to be targeting a lot of our older writers who are in their 70s and 80s that don't have a lot of opportunities for readings anymore, when they have a wealth of knowledge and all of these beautiful poems and not the opportunities to read. So
it's wonderful. Yes, we don't see a lot of that anymore. I think there is a shift towards what's new and hip or contemporary, and the oldies and goodies are great too, and
yes.
are part of it and woven into the tapestry of our poetic experience.
Mhm. Yes, there's a writer in, I believe he's in Michigan. His name is Michael Delp, and unfortunately his wife passed away recently, I believe cancer. But he has written 100 ghazals for her between that time and now. And there's some of the most spectacular writing I've ever read. And he is going to do a cameo, and then he's going to be one of the featured readers. And he will knock your socks off. Absolutely.
It sounds so beautiful. And I think like that perspective is, and that type of story is heartbreaking. It is like, that's part of life, that grief, that loss. And I think as Americans, oftentimes we don't talk about death. We don't talk about that. So, I mean, poetry is a route, a way to that. And thank you for lifting up those types of experiences and voices to make that less, maybe not less scary, but to make us feel less alone in those experiences.
Yes. And I love intergenerational experiences. So there'll be some young readers too. I've talked with some middle schoolers and some, I'm trying to get some high schoolers, and they would read like one or two of their poems, but then there's the featured reader and the cameo. So that's what I'm saying. It's like a 3-ring circus, but not quite.
It's wonderful. Yeah. And I love getting the young kids involved too. Up until recently, I've always taught high school English classes, and I was so fortunate to try and, with the COVID situation, we were trying to like come up with different opportunities for kids to learn. And I had a really small class and it was just a poetry intensive class. And the kids were so good. And there was one kid who, like, I started like, are you cheating? Are you plagiarizing somehow? But like, I'd give a prompt and he would just sit there and handwrite or just type it out in front of me. And it's like his first drafts were what all of us would strive for. This high school kid.
That's wonderful. And it's wonderful that he had you, to help get that going and that energy and that exchange, and somebody that would acknowledge that work.
Thank you so much for that. And before we wrap up, what keeps you sweet in a world that is oftentimes very, very salty?
I think it's a great question, and I'll try to finish without actually crying. And that is, in thinking about it, the thing that keeps me going is art. The letterpress came to me when I was injured and had lost my job. Like it came to me, the big one from Sam, in that way. And for that gift to come to me with no strings attached at all, I eventually helped him die, and he eventually helped me by changing my life over several times. He helped me get my ESL degree. He helped me with the letterpress. We traveled some internationally. And that energy around that selfless kind of energy, he was a very complex, difficult person to many, many people. But my experience with him was a lot of real goodness, an authentic, genuine goodness. And that is what I try to pass on. I have a small traveling letterpress that I take into schools and colleges, and we pull prints. Its name is Traveling Duende. I pass Sam's energy forward. That's the sweetness, is to take a little press somewhere and work with adults or kids and have them interact in a new way in the world, and hear the story about the gift of Sam, the gift from Sam, and to see what might be possible. Because in the beginning, I went around and said, hi, my name's Juniper, I'm looking for a letterpress. Hi, my name's Juniper, I'm looking for a letterpress, everywhere I went. And eventually, Sam was who responded. And that's just crazy.
It is crazy, serendipitous in a lot of ways. Thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for sharing your sweetness. And I love how you're acknowledging like two hard things, like a very selfless act and kindness, but a complicated person who has seen differently by other people as well. Like I'm just going to
Absolutely.
Whitman. We contain multitudes, all of us.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today, Juniper. It's been such a sweet, sweet treat to have you. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next Sunday for another episode of Sunday Sweet Chats. Bye, everyone.